What is FedNow and how does it work? The FedNow service is the new Federal Reserve's instant interbank payment system that promises a new era of speed and efficiency, empowering banks and credit unions to offer instantaneous money transfers 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Sound familiar? You might remember Silvergate and Signature Banks, both which the feds took control of earlier this year because of liquidity issues. They both had instant payment rails which allowed real-time payments. Barney Frame, a board member of Signature, claims it was regulators wanting to send a very strong anti-crypto message that got his bank shut down. I guess we'll never know now. But what is a FedNow? It's actually a scam, meaning the government wants to keep controlling you, your business, and everyone else's. They would have a direct hand in every transaction made between banks through this system, tracking every single one of your payments. So instead of adopting Bitcoin, they keep wanting to control you in your daily life and keep you from being financially free. The FedNow isn't the only fast payment system out there. Even though there is little to no public information about this, central banks have been receiving help from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation alongside the World Bank for years. Yeah, you heard it right. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been working closely with the World Bank to roll out a digital ID and fast payment systems, an initiative called Project FAST. You see, the World Bank's Payment Systems Development Group has been involved in the development of fast payment systems worldwide, and it has assisted more than 120 countries over the past year. The crazy part is, Project FAST aims to convert all payment systems eventually to CBDCs. This raises concerns about centralized control and surveillance over financial transactions. Let's clarify. FedNow is not a digital currency. It's an infrastructure that allows financial institutions to send and receive funds within seconds. So who's on board? As of right now, it's 35 banks, credit unions, and the U.S. Department of Treasury's Bureau of the Fiscal Service. Early adopters include JP Morgan, Chase, Wells Fargo, with 16 other institutions supporting processing of payments that the Fed argues will offer just-in-time access to paychecks and invoices. Anyway, FedNow isn't replacing cash, but it's transforming payments. In other words, just use Bitcoin and save yourself the trouble. Don't leave! We got Whitney Webb backstage. So Whitney, I want to know how it's like to cover Bitcoin as a journalist.
So I don't really cover Bitcoin that much, but I do cover some stuff that intersects with Bitcoin. So for example, I gave a speech here yesterday about the World Economic Forum Partnership Against Cybercrime, and basically how there's this big effort to label Bitcoin specifically as a national security threat, label it as the new frontier and terror financing and all this stuff. And mainly the gambit there is because, Bitcoin and privacy enhancing technology that's used a lot by Bitcoiners and also by other people in the space is a huge target right now because we have the government, intelligence agencies, and also corporations, central banks, commercial banks looking to create a complete system of surveillance. And of course, financial surveillance is a huge part of that. Being able to log and track every transaction of everybody is essential to that, right? And so anything that's a threat to that, and they openly say a lot of Bitcoin users are anonymous, that's bad, they could be money laundering and all of this stuff, when at the same time these governments, these intelligence agencies, these banks launder money for the worst people in the world all the time and nothing happens. It's an insane double standard, and it's all about their attempts to stomp out financial freedom. So, I think whether you're into Bitcoin or not, that's something we should all be against 100%.
And what is the solution to that? Because these are like the top dogs that are trying to put a bad face on Bitcoin and trying to make it seem like it's bad, and they're getting to a lot of the population with that type of message.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to remind people of the parallels of what happened with 9/11, right? So there was the term, terrorist, terror, hugely vague definitions, basically anyone in the Middle East or different parts of the world in Africa that the security state wanted to take out, they gave that label a lot of the time. And so now what they're trying to do, like I talked about in my speech, is talk about, label everyone that uses privacy enhancing technology, they're a potential cyber criminal. Right? And all sorts of stuff like this. We got to remember the parallels that the people that claim that they're trying to protect the public don't care about protecting the public at all. They care about protecting their racket. their grift, which is looting American wealth. It's important for everyone to realize the state of play here, that the government and the banks are in cahoots together. It's essentially organized crime, and we have to become ungovernable, right? And the best way to do that is up to every person. But I respect Bitcoiners for taking a big step in that direction and trying to build some sort of parallel system that is outside of these banks and outside of these control systems. And, even if people don't want to use Bitcoin to do that, there's lots of other ways to do that, but you got to start doing something, because the more we just sit back and do nothing about it, the more they have time to establish this system and try and enslave everybody, and, screw that.
And now, a quick recap of the week. WorldCoin launched, and masses line up to collect $50 worth of WorldCoin in exchange for their freedom. That's crazy. As you can see in this video, people are getting verified, and they're getting their eyeballs scanned every 8 seconds. The Orb is this new blockchain project dedicated to building a user identity network by its co-founder, Sam Altman, all which goes against privacy, accessibility, and decentralization, the same ideals that the Bitcoin ecosystem was founded on. He's also the inventor of ChatGPT. As of right now, over 2 million humans have stared into the Orb and the flagship device from WorldCoin. In other news, Sam Bankman-Fried agrees to gag order with bail status in jeopardy, largely preventing him from publicly discussing his case after prosecutors accused him of trying to discredit their star witness, Caroline Ellison. You see, SBF, who stole billions of customers' money, has now had his campaign finance charge dropped and is now getting away with it. Meanwhile, PacWest Bancorp is merging with smaller rival Bank of California as it's trying to manage a period of disruption that caused several of its competitors to fail. And over in El Salvador, dozens of Salvadorian Bitcoiners are now graduates from an elite and complete free educational program, Cubo Plus. The idea was inspired by El Salvador President Nayib Bukele's educational plan known as Cubo. Like they say, knowledge is power, and with that power comes great responsibility and a little time to celebrate, because this week we mined block 800,000 with less than a year to go to the next block reward halving. You know what they say? TikTok next block. And just remember, it's Satoshi Nakamoto and not Satoshi Nakamoto. Who is that?